This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, Bruchim Abam, welcome everyone. Parshas Vayishlach. The information we have tonight is mind-blowing. Wild stuff tonight. Unbelievable. So prepare yourself, brace yourselves. This is going to be out there. Okay. So Yaakov Avinu builds a Mizbeach. Vayatzev sham Mizbeach. He sets up an altar. Vayikro loi Kael Elokei Yisrael. And he calls him Kael, the God of Israel. Question is, who calls who God? We would think Yaakov Avinu is referring to the Mizbeach, what happened at the Mizbeach, and he says, this Mizbeach reminds me of the Ribbon Shem. In other words, like Rashi brings down, the Mizbeach signified, the Mizbeach reflected the connection that Yaakov Avinu had with Hashem at that moment. However, the Gemara Megillah on Daf Yudches says something really out of this world. Says the Gemara, V'amar Rabacha, Amar Rabbi Elazar, Minayin shekaroi HaKadosh Baruch Hu LeYaakov Kael. How do you know that God called Yaakov Kael? You hear this? Ribbon Shalom says to Yaakov, Yaakov, you know what you are? You're God. You're Kael. How do I know that Ribbon Shalom called Yaakov Kael? Shenemar Vayikra Loi, and he called him Kael Elokei Yisrael. Says the Gemara, don't think Yaakov called him Mizbeach Kael, because then it should say Vayikra Loi Yaakov. Yaakov called it Kael. Why does it say Vayikra Loi Kael? It means the Ribbon Shalom said to Yaakov, you know what you are? You're Kael. And who called him Kael? Elokei Yisrael. Well, half of a fella. The Ribbon Shalom calls Yaakov Avinu Kael. What is that supposed to mean? How does the word Kael is a description of God, how does that apply to Yaakov Avinu? In fact, the Medrash goes so far as to say, Hashem told Yaakov, look, I'm Elokei be'elyonim and you're Elokei b'tachtoinim. I'm the God up there and you're God downstairs. I mean, we could never say such a thing even, but that's what the Medrash says. Okay, that's something we would like to investigate. Okay. Rabbi said we read this week's Parsha and it seems like a simple story. Yaakov Avinu is about to encounter Esav, and Yaakov Avinu prepares. He's afraid of Esav. He's afraid Esav is going to kill him, so he prepares shoichad. And Baruch Hashem, the encounter goes well, and then Yaakov Avinu goes to Shechem, and Dinah is captured, and then Shimon and Levi kill out the city, and then we listen to the Parsha. Then we go home after Shul Shabbos afternoon. We eat some cholent, and we conk out. And we think we put in a full-fledged Shabbos. That's it. We heard the words of the Parsha, and then we have the cholent. Rabbi said we have no idea what's going on in this Parsha. The pasuk says, Vayira Yaakov Ma'od. Yaakov was very afraid. Vayetzer lo, he was distressed. Rashi wants to know, what was he afraid of? What was he stressed over? Says Rashi, Vayira, he was afraid, Shema Yehareg. He was afraid he might get killed. Esav was coming with 400 men. They weren't coming, with food. They weren't coming to give Yaakov a massage. Right? They were coming for other things, yeah? So he was afraid he was going to get killed. Vayetzer loi, what was he stressed about? Im yaharoik hu es acherim. He was afraid he might have to kill others. Yaakov was afraid he would be killed, and he was stressed lest he kill other people. So Rabbi Shulei Diskin wants to know, why was he afraid he might have to kill other people? He's afraid he's going to have to kill Esav. He has to kill Esav. Esav's coming to kill him. If someone is coming to kill you, you gotta, in self-defense, you gotta kill them first. What do Chazal say? Haba lahargacha hashkem lahargai. If someone comes to kill you, you gotta save your skin by knocking him off. So why was Yaakov afraid that he would kill Esav? It's a mitzvah to kill Esav. Esav's coming to kill him, so he would have to kill Esav. There would be no complaint against him. There would be no tainas on Yaakov Avinu for killing Esav. So what was he afraid of? Well, Rabbi Shulei Diskin offers a very ingenious answer. And that is, we know Rivka Imenu tells Yaakov, after Yaakov took the brachas, he said, get out of here. You got to run for your life. Because I'm afraid Esav's going to come to kill you, and you're going to strike him first, and then his relatives are going to come kill you. Rivka says, Lama eshgal shneichem b'yoyim echad. Why should I lose both of you in one day? To which Rashi says, Niva v'layada ma niva. she was prophesying, she didn't even realize what she was prophesying about. Why? Because in fact, they both died on the same day. The day that Yaakov died, so Esav said, "You burying him over my dead body?" And Chusham said, "That's right, over your dead body." And he killed Esav. So Rivka had a true prophecy that both Yaakov and Esav would die on the same day. So Yaakov also knew that prophecy. So Yaakov was afraid he might kill Esav, because he knew that the day he kills Esav, he's going to have to die. That was the prophecy of Rivka. So it's not that he was worried to kill Esav per se. He was worried what killing Esav meant. It meant it was going to backfire on him. However, there's another possible meaning in what Rashi says. He was afraid, im yaharikhu es achirim. And this explanation I found in no less than 6 Sfarim. And this is the first time where I didn't put all 6 Sfarim on the sheets. I just put 2 of them on the sheets. And the other ones I tell you where to look. I figured 51 Maramakoimus is enough, right? We don't need 55. So in case you felt gypped on the Maramakoimus, you could look them up, whatever. But they say the following idea. When the Goyim decided to destroy the Beis Hamikdash in the times of Bayesheni, the Gemara Masechta Gittin says, because of the story of Kamsa bar Kamsa, the Romans sent their general. Who is the general of Rome? Nero Caesar. And as he's approaching Yerushalayim, he shoots the arrow to the right, it goes to Yerushalayim. He shoots it to the left, miraculously it goes to Yerushalayim. To the east, to the west, to the north, every arrow he shoots goes to Yerushalayim. He figured, this is a good omen. He meets a little kid, he tells him, "Tell me what pasuk you're learning." They had a premonition that whenever a kid would randomly say a pasuk, it had to do with what will be in the future. So the kid said the pasuk that God's going to wipe his hands clean with Rome. So Nero Caesar says, what does God want from me? He wants me to destroy the Beis Hamikdash and then wipe me off? Says the Gemara Masechta Gittin Daf Nun Vav number 6 on your sheets. Arak, he fled. Azal, he left. Igayer, Nero Caesar became a ger. And who came from him? V'nafak mine Reb Meir. Reb Meir was a descendant of the Roman general who came to destroy Yerushalayim. What did Rabbi say? Reb Meir had another name. What was his name? The Gemara in Hariyos, you ready for this story? It's a good story. Daf Yud Gimel of this. Gemara says, there were 3 Gedolei Hadar. One was, Reb Shimon Gamliel was the Nasi. That's the highest position, that's the prince. And Reb Meir was the Chacham. And Rav Nasan was the Av Bezdin. Now, you see, nowadays, when a rabbi walks into the room, what do people do? They make believe they didn't see him, right? But really, you have to stand up, right? Now, how much you have to stand up? Now, some people, they do like a shuffle. What that is exactly, I'm not sure. Maybe it's exercise, I'm not sure. But the halacha states, you have to stand up to full height. The problem is, what when 3 rabbis walk in? Like, who gets every time a different rabbi walks in, everyone stands up to full? Yeah. So when the Nasi walks in, everyone stands up to full height. And when the Chacham walks in, everyone stood up to full height. And when the Bezdin walks in, everyone to stand to full height. So Rav Shimon Gamliel, the Nasi, says, no, this is not I'm the Nasi. The kavod goes to me. It wasn't a personal thing. There had to be a certain recognition of the status of the Nasi. In order for the Torah to be appreciated properly, it demands a certain honor. And Rav Shimon Gamliel says, well, if they're going to stand up for them, those 2 guys, the same amount, people are not going to recognize the position. So, conveniently, on the day that Rav Meir and Rav Nasan couldn't make it, he made a takana. That for me, you stand up to full height, and for those 2 guys, you just shuffle. They come back the next day, and they see everyone standing up for Shimon Gamliel, and they just get the shuffle. They said, let's do to him what he did to us. Tomorrow when he walks into the Shiur, he's going to come in with his nice sheet, and everyone thinks, oh wow, he knows his stuff. He prepared the sheet. That's what he knows. He knows the sheet. We'll tell him to give Shiur on a different sheet. We'll give him the sheet, and we'll see if he can give Shiur on that. We'll tell him to give Shiur Masechta Uktzen. He comes in with his prepared lecture. Very good. Anyone could prepare. I guarantee anyone could prepare a lecture and come in and Sounds like they know what they're talking about. We're going to give him something else. So, meanwhile, there was an individual by the name of Yaakov ben Karshi. He overhears that they're going to farher Rav Shimon Gamliel on Uktzin. So he goes next to Rav Shimon Gamliel, and the whole night he's chazering over Uktzin. By the way, Uktzin are the detailed complexities of stems of vegetables. Right? A whole masechta about what is the halachic status of the stem of a vegetable. It's a very complicated masechta. So the whole night, Rav Yaakov ben Karshi is learning Uktzin, and until it's coming out of Rav Shimon Gamliel's ears, he says, "What's this guy busy with Uktzin the whole night? It must be something is up." So he paid attention very carefully to the Shiur on Uktzin. The next day, Rav Meir and Rav Nassan come in. They say, "Rav Shimon Gamliel, get rid of that sheet that you have over there. Say Masechta Uktzin." And he says Masechta Uktzin like nobody's business. And then when he finishes the Shiur, he said, "Had I not learned it, I would have been in big trouble. You two guys, you're out of here." And he expelled them from the yeshiva. The number 2 and number 3, Gedolei Yisrael, they were out of the yeshiva. The problem was that they were greater in learning than Rav Shimon Gamliel. So they were always the ones who brought up the topics in the Beis Medrash. So now, every time they wanted to learn something in the Beis Medrash, you know what they did? Rav Meir and Rav Nassan would throw in the questions from the window, like through the chimney. He'd throw in the questions. And not always, the Talmidim didn't always know the answers, so they would have to throw in the answers also. So Rabbi Yossi is sitting there. He says, "What's going on? The Torah is on the outside. What am I doing on the inside? The action ain't inside. The action is on the outside." So they go to Rav Shimon Gamliel. They say, "Look, you're a nice rabbi, but you're not Rav Meir and Rav Nassan." He said, "Fine, we'll bring them in. But from now on, we will not quote Rav Meir ever again. We can't say over Torah in his name. From now on, any halacha said in the name of Rav Meir, you call him Achirim, others." So Rav Meir is called Achirim. Who is Rav Meir a descendant of? The Roman general. Who is the Roman general a descendant of? Esav. What does Rashi mean? Yaakov was afraid to kill Achirim? He was afraid to kill Esav. If he kills Esav, there'll never be a Rav Meir. That's what Rashi means. He was afraid to kill Achirim. Achirim means Rav Meir. There's no one else in history ever called Achirim. What Rashi should have said, he's afraid to kill Esav. Why does he Achirim? He was afraid to kill Rav Meir. Who says this? This is found in the Sefer Peninim Yekarim. It's a collection of Vayishlach Api Chasidus. And it's found in the Sefer Chavatzelas Hasharoin, which is Lamdish Torah on the Parsha. So you have two Svarim from like completely opposite spectrums. They bring down the same thing. But you can find the same Pshat in the Pardes Yosef, in the Mayana Shel Torah, in the Imrei Noyam, in the Zichron Shmuel, many Svarim. That Yaakov Avinu was worried about Rav Meir. So here we are, we're sitting in Shul on Shabbos, we're reading the story, and we think we have the story down. Meanwhile, Yaakov Avinu, you hear what's going on, Rabbi? It's like, he's saving Tanoim. Yaakov Avinu is saving the lives of Tanoim. Okay, that's pretty interesting. Rav Meir is not the only Tana that Yaakov Avinu is trying to save. You're going to see, this is a whole mission. Yaakov Avinu is a man on a mission. He's looking to save different Tanoim. Who else? Listen to this. Yaakov Avinu. Did anybody ever see the sonogram of Yaakov and Esav? Ever see the sonogram of Yaakov and Esav? Well, if you ever would have seen it, you would have seen a picture, not of two twins. One baby holding on to the foot of the other baby. What does Yaakov have with Esav's foot? What does he want from Esav's foot? What does he like about the foot? It's a hairy foot. What does he have with that foot? Says the Arizal, you know who was in that foot? Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva was in the foot of Esav. And when Yaakov Avinu grabbed the foot, he chapped Rabbi Akiva. He brought him back. Rabbi Akiva was somehow lost in the foot of Esav. And Yaakov Avinu saves Rabbi Akiva from like, what's going on over here? Here, Yaakov Avinu, he's saving Rav Meir. And then in utero already, he's saving Rabbi Akiva. He's like Rav Lazer Silver, after the war. He went to the different monasteries to save the different children. With Yaakov Avinu, he's saving Rav Meir. He's saving Rabbi Akiva. But he's not finished with Rabbi Akiva. Most people don't realize the central part of this week's Parsha is Yaakov Avinu saving Rabbi Akiva. Say, what? Where's Rabbi Akiva's name mentioned in this week's Parsha? Look at number 11. Vayomer lekim el Yaakov. Hashem says to Yaakov, Kum alei Beisel. Go up to Beisel. And maybe you noticed that the Rashi Tevos are the words El, Yaakov, Kum, Alei, Beisel. Alei is Ayin, Kum is Kuf, Yaakov is Yud, Veis is Beis, El is Aleph, Akiva. See that? You see that? Vayomer lekim el Yaakov, Kum, Alei, Beisel. Ayin, Kuf, Yud, Veis, Aleph, Akiva. Says of Shamshin Me'ashtapoli, Rebbeinu Shem sent Yaakov Avinu on another mission to save Rabbi Akiva again. Where is he now? I'm not telling you yet. You have to wait a little bit. You can't have all the secrets right away. Sometimes you have to have patience. But Yaakov Avinu is searching for Akiva. Look at number 12. Okay, I'm going to ask you a question. Whoever gets the answer will get a prize after the shiur. Okay? This pasuk, don't get too excited. V'lo eichar hanar lasois hadavar. Right? This is when Shimon and Levi say, "You want to marry our sister? No problem. You need to circumcise the city." So they were expecting him to say, "No way, now, no chance. Who are we going to bring in to circumcise the whole city?" Right? They said, "No, we'll bring in a team of Ma'ilim. We'll bring in a big team, you know." So the pasuk says, "V'leichar na lasei sadavar." Right? V'leichar na. He didn't delay. Ki chafetz b'vas Yaakov. He wanted the daughter of Yaakov. There's a missing word in this pasuk. What's the missing word in this pasuk? The answer is the word es. It should say v'lo eichar hanar lasois es hadavar. Usually, the word hadavar is defined by an article es. It should say v'lo eichar hanar lasois es hadavar. What happened to the word es? Well, it says of Shamshin Me'ashtapoli. Don't worry about the word es, because the word es appears in a different pasuk. Where? Look at number 19. Shechem says, I want to marry this woman. I don't care how much you charge me. Harbu olai ma'oid moyaru matan. Set a big price. Set a big price. Ve'etna, and I'll give it. Kasher temrole, whatever you say. Usenu li es hanara leisha. Give me the woman. It could have just said Usenu li hanara leisha. Why es hanara? You ready? Look carefully at the words Usenu li es hanara leisha. The Soifei Tevos points out of Shamshin Me'ashtapoli. Li ends with a yud. Hanara is keilu, it ends with a hey. Usenu vav. Leisha hey. Yud kei vav kei. It's the name of God. Usenu li es hanara leisha. Yud kei vav kei. But there's one little problem here. The word es is interjecting. Shechem ben Chamor was such a Chamor. He was such a ferret that he took the word es and he stooped it into the name of Hashem. Usenu li es hanara leisha. It would have been Yud Kei Vav Kei, but he stuffed it up with the word es. Who else did something like that? He took a page out of Paro's book. Remember that? He took a page out of Paro's book. Paro, you look at Paro, you think Paro's a big tzaddik. You know what he said? Hashem hatzadik, va'ani va'ami harashim. Hashem is righteous, and me and my cohorts were wicked. Wow, what a humble man. Hashem's the righteous one, and we're the Rishon. Not only that, but he says Yud Kei Vav Kei. Hashem starts with a Yud, Hatzadik starts with a Hey, Ve'ami starts with a Vav, Harasham starts with Hey. What a tzaddik this Paro is. I mean, by the way, you can take a look on the sheets. You don't have to take my word for it. Look in number 23. Vayishlach Paro, Vayikra l'Moshe le'Aaron, Vayomer aleim, Chatasi apam, Hashem atzadik. Va'ani va'ami harishayim. You see Yud Kei Vav Kei. Hashem atzadik Yud Kei. Va'ami harishayim Vav Kei. But you know what kind of chamar Parai was? What does he stick in the middle of Hashem's name? Va'ani. Me. You think I'm saying Hashem's name? I'm destroying Hashem's name. He sticks his own head in between. Yud Kei Vav Kei. So who did that? Paroi did that. And Chamor did it. Shechem ben Chamor. Shechem ben Chamor said, Usnuli es hanara leisha. He also stuck in the S. How are we going to fix the S? Well, before we fix the S, I want to tell you a very important thing. This is the classic trick of the Goyim. This is something the Goyim always do. They always like to interfere in the Yud Kei Vav Kei. So, for example, look at number 20. Who could find Yud Kei Vav Kei in Eicha Parak Aleph Pasuk Yud? Who could find the Yud Kei Vav Kei there? Yadoi parasar kol machmadeha. You ready? Ki rasa goyim bo mikdasha. Ki ends with a yud. Rasa ends with a hey. Ba'u ends with a vav. Mikdasha ends with a. The only problem is, who's sticking their ugly heads in between? Goyim. That's the trick of the Goyim. Which Goyim? Two of them. Shechem ben Chamor and Paroi. Those are the Goyim. That's what Goyim do. They make believe they promote Hashem's name, but their intention is to split it in half, to interfere, to stick their ugly heads in. Usenuli es hanara leisha. Hashem atzadik va'ani ve'ami harisha. That's what Goyim do. That's the meaning of the pasuk. Elokim bo Goyim benachlasech. The Goyim, they're always interfering. Yeah? So how are we going to fix up the S? The S is interjected. Usenuli es hanara leisha. You know what, Rabbi say? There's only one man who knows how to fix up the word S. You know who that is? Rabbi Akiva. He's the one man who found a drasha for every S in the Torah. He went so far as to say that even where the Torah says, fear God, it says, Es Hashem leikecha tira. Rabbi Akiva says, nobody else knew what to do with the word S. Who else you have to fear other than Hashem? Rabbi Akiva said, no. There's someone else you have to fear other than Hashem. You know who? Talmidei Chachamim. Es. So if Rabbi Akiva comes along and rectifies the S, that's going to correct the interference in the Yud Kei Vav Kei. Says of Shamshin Me'ashtapoli, when Yaakov was sent to Shechem, you know what his mission was? You know who he had to rescue? Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva, who Yaakov removed from the foot of Esav, he's trapped again in Shechem. How he got, you're going to ask me, how did he get there? What's he doing there? How do you get him out? How do you free him? I don't know the answer to any of those questions. I'm just reporting the facts to you. That Rabbi Akiva somehow, on some metaphysical, spiritual, supernatural level, he's trapped there in Shechem. By the way, Rabbi Sai, does anybody remember the Gemara in Pesachim? Where Rabbi Akiva says, when I used to be in Am Haaretz, I would say, give me a rabbi, and I'll bite him like a chamor. Why chamor? Because who's he trapped in? Shechem ben Chamor. He's trapped in Shechem ben Chamor. That's why he would have bit, in his previous life, he would have bit a Talmid Chacham like a chamor. Okay, you ready? Get a load of this. A very important medrash. The medrash says that God, you know, if you look in the Parsha, there's something a little bit provocative, you could say, in the choice of language the Torah uses about Shechem and Dinah. The Torah uses all kinds of expressions. How much Shechem wanted Dinah. It says he was chafetz ba, he was chashak ba, he was oyhev, he was davak ba. All kinds of languages of desire and lust and want. I mean, why is the Torah being so descriptive and graphic in the desire that this Russia had for the tzaddikas? Just say he wanted to marry her. Well, why? He was choshak, he was chafatz, he was davak, he was ahav. The Medrash says that all of these expressions reflect how Hashem feels about the Jewish people. That Hashem is, says the Gemara, Hashem is davak to us. He's chashak to us. He's chafetz banu. But isn't it strange? And the Gemara says, the Medrash says, that all these expressions that Hashem loves us with, we learn it out from Shechem ben Chamar. Listen to this. What was Rabbi Akiva's final word? What was his last word? Echad. You know why Rabbi Akiva died saying the word Echad? Says Rav Shimon Shapoli. The word Echad stands for the three lusts that Shechem had for Dinah. Ahava, Chafitza, Devekos. And Rabbi Akiva was trapped in there. But he was able to free himself and channel those feelings to Ribbon Shalom. Echad. You know why Rabbi Akiva died saying the word Echad? Echad stands for Ahava, Chafitza, Devekos. So what we're learning now is that this whole Parsha, Yaakov Avinu is like a man on a mission. First he has to make sure he doesn't kill Achirim. He has to take care of Reb Meir. Make sure he doesn't get rid of Reb Meir. Then, from the moment he's born, he's already trying to chap Rabbi Akiva out of the toes of Esav. And then Hashem says, Kum alei beisel v'shev sham, oisi ois Akiva, go get Rabbi Akiva. So we come to Shul, we just want to hear the Balkarei read the story. We don't realize what's going on over here. Yaakov Avinu is like saving all the Tanoim in the Mishnayos. So you say that's okay, fine. So Rabbi Akiva and Reb Meir, Rabbi say, we're just getting started. He was a man on a mission. You know why? Says the Orach Chaim HaKadosh. At first I forgot about this Orach Chaim HaKadosh. It's not in this week's Parsha. It's in Parshas Vayichi. Orach Chaim HaKadosh says, there's another Tana trapped in that city of Shechem. Can you imagine what's going on over there? Who else is trapped there? So the Orach Chaim HaKadosh says that sometimes when a holy tzaddik has a union with a rasha, like Dinah had with Shechem, the tzaddik or the tzaddik is able to extract a holy neshama that gets trapped in the rasha. Says the Orach Chaim HaKadosh, who's trapped in Shechem? You ready for this one? You'll never guess. Rabbi Hananya ben Shradyoin. What? What's he doing over there? Where is this alluded to? Says Orach Chaim HaKadosh. Because Shechem tells the brothers of Yaakov, there's plenty of room for all of us. V'inei eretz rachavas yodayim. Rachavas. Rachavas stands for Rabbi Chanina ben Tradion. How did he get there? I don't know. Can't answer that. But does anybody know who Rabbi Chanina ben Tradion was? So we learned to Masechta Brachos not so long ago on Daf Yud. There was a woman by the name of Bruria. Bruria was considered the most educated and knowledgeable woman who ever lived. To the point where the Gemara wants to say that even though in general there's certain limitations that women have in learning, but they didn't apply to Bruria. And ultimately the Gemara concluded, no, she was also subject to it. And it's a whole discussion. Does anybody know who Bruria is married to? Reb Meir. Ribono Shel Olam. So now Yaakov Avinu, he's saving Reb Meir. And it's not enough Reb Meir. Who's Reb Meir going to marry? So he's saving Reb Chanina ben Tradion, the father of Bruria. How do I know Reb Chanina ben Tradion is the father of Bruria? It's a Gemara in Avodah Zarah. If you look in Rabbeinu Nisim Goin, he brings down over there that Reb Chanina ben Tradion was the father of Bruria, the wife of Reb Meir. Yaakov Avinu is a busy guy. It seems like he's just having a confrontation with Esav. No, it's much more than that. First he has to save Reb Meir, and then Reb Meir, who's Reb Meir going to marry? So then he has to save Reb Meir's father and the Shver. And then what about Rabbi Akiva? So he has to chop him from Esav's toes, and then he has to go rescue him in Shechem. So you say, all right, he had just a few things. No, he had more people. You ready for this one? He has to save some more people. What's that? Okay, look at number 28. So Yaakov Avinu tells his malachim, listen up, malachim. Vayitzav oisam lemar. I'm giving you another chance to get a prize now, okay? So don't worry if you missed the first chance. This corridor is still available after the shiur for who answers the second, yeah? Vayitzav oisam lemar. Kaisaimrun la'adoini liyesav kayamar avdecha Yaakov im lavan garti va'eichar adata. There's an extra word in this pasuk. What's the extra word in the pasuk? The extra word is the word lemar. It should say vayitzav oisam, and he commanded them. Kaisaimrun la'adoini liyesav. This is what you should say to Esav. What do you mean? Vayitzav oisam, he commanded them, saying, you should say, we got the point already. I mean, they should repeat themselves twice. Why lemar kaisaimrun? Okay, so you have to know a very important thing. The Medrash tells us that whenever Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi went to deal with the Romans, the way he prepared himself was he would learn Parshas Vayishlach. Parshas Vayishlach, Yaakov Avinu's encounter with Esav, is the guide, the handbook to how you deal with Esav. So, when Esav said to Yaakov, let's go together, let's be together, let's be brothers. Yaakov said, nah, you go ahead, I'll take... Yaakov said, it's like when somebody calls you up, hey, you want to come with me to the shiur? So what do you tell him? Go ahead, I'll meet you there. Right? How do you tell somebody get lost? You say, you go ahead, I'll meet you there. So that's what Yaakov told Esav. You go ahead, I'll catch up with you when I'm around. So Esav said, maybe I'll leave some people with you. So Yaakov Avinu said, no thanks, I don't need anybody. So whenever Rabbi Yehuda had to deal with the Romans, he would always read Parshas Vayishlach, and he would learn from there not to take any goyim with him. One time he went to deal with Rome without learning Vayishlach, and he forgot about this inyan, and he took a goy with him. By the time he got there, he was like bankrupt. The goy, they just want to rip you off. Okay, that's what the Medrash says. Says the Ramban. What's the reason for this? The Ramban in Parak Lamed Gimel Pasuk Tesvav, number 30. Shahaisa, 4 lines in the end. Shahaisa Kabbalah b'yadam. That the Tanoim had a tradition. Shezu Parshas Golos. This was the Parsha of Golos. Kishahayabab b'Roima, when they used to come to Rome. B'chatzar Malchei Edom. When they came to the courtyards of the Roman officials for Iskei Tzibor, they would always look into this Parsha and learn how did Yaakov deal with Esav, and however Yaakov dealt with Esav, that's how they dealt with the Romans. I'll give you another example. Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi, everybody knows. Who codified, who redacted the Mishnah? Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi, yeah? How was he able to do it? For hundreds of years, the Jews did not have the peace and tranquility to be able to gather all the Chachmei Yisrael together and codify the Mishnah. Well, Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi enjoyed a unique relationship with the Roman Caesar, with Antoninus, to the point where the Gemara in Avodah Zarah says that Antoninus had an underground tunnel that led from his office to Rebbe's house, and he would secretly learn with Rebbe, and he would even let Rebbe climb up on his back to climb onto his bed. And Rebbe would say, Antoninus, don't demean yourself. And Antoninus would say, Halavai, I should be your doormat in Olam Haba. It's because Rebbe was able to forge this relationship with the Romans that gave us the tranquility to codify the Mishnayos. One time Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi was writing a letter to Antoninus. So he told his scribe, Rabbi Afis, write a letter from me to Moron Malka Antoninus, to my master, the king Antoninus. So Rabbi Afis wrote a letter that Yehuda Nasiya, Yehuda the king, Yehuda the prince, writes a letter to Moron Malka Antoninus. Rebbe looked at the letter. He was correct. He was, checking out the letter. He took the letter and he ripped it up. He said, don't write from Yehuda Nasiya. Write, Min Avdecha Yehuda El Moron Malka Antoninus. Write from your servant Yehuda. So, Rabbi Afis says, Rabbi Yehuda, but you're the Nasi, you have to write from the Nasi. So Rabbi Yehuda said, no, I'm not any greater than Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu said, Kayamar Avdecha Yaakov. So from there, says Rabbi Yehuda, if Yaakov Avinu lowers himself to Esav as a political move, then I have to do the same. So what do we learn from here? That all the nuances of how Yaakov dealt with Esav are not just one-time occurrences, but what are they? They're the handbook, they're the paradigm, they're the guide how we deal with Esav for all times. So says the Sefer, Igra Dekala. Igra Dekala is written by the Bnei Yissaschar, Tzvi Melech Midinov. What the pasuk means, Vayitzav Oisam Leimar. Leimar means he commanded these malachim, Leimar, to say for all generations that whenever we have to deal with Esav, this is how you do it. Leimar means this is the protocol, this is the procedure for all times. However, there's another secret meaning of the word Leimar. You ready for this? The Megala Amukais, Rav Nasanata Shapira, wrote a sefer on one pasuk in Chumash. It's a big fat sefer, and the whole sefer is on the first pasuk of Parshas Va'eschanan. 222 perushim on the first pasuk, Va'eschanan el Hashem ba'es hahi leimar, where he says the following. What was Moshe Rabbeinu davening for? Vav! He wanted to establish Shishay Sidrei Mishna. Ba'es hahi. How was Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi able to write the Mishnayos? Do you know, the halach is that you're not allowed to write the Torah Shabal Peh. To write the Torah Shabal Peh is an Avera. Right? It says, Dvarim Shabal Peh Yata Rashoy Lichtevam B'chsav. You're not allowed to write the oral law. How was Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi allowed to write the oral law? Well, he used the principle, Eis Lasois Lashem Heferu Tarasecha. Then when the times call for it, and when the Torah is in jeopardy, you need to break the Torah to keep the Torah. Va'es Chanan. Moshe said, I want the Vav. She says in a Mishnah. Ba'es Hahi. Through the principle of Eis Lasois Hashem. How are we going to do it? Leimar. What does Leimar stand for? You know what Leimar stands for? Liyemois Antoininois Melech Roimi. You know when we're going to establish the Mishnayos? In the days of Antoninos, the king of Rome. Leimar stands for Liyemois Antoninos Melech Roimi. So the Sefer Shvilei Pinchas says maybe that's what Yaakov Avinu was doing also. Vayitzav Oisam Leimar. Yaakov Avinu says, wait a second, this Esav guy, there's another thing we have to chop from him. There's going to be a man that comes from Esav. His name is Antoninos. I have to orchestrate now a relationship with Antoninos so that one day my future descendant, Rabbi, will be able to codify the Mishnayos. So the pasuk could be read, Vayitzav Oisam Leimar. Leimar means Liyamois Antoninos Melech Roimi. Also, says Megala Mukas, it could stand for Lesakein Asifas Mishnayos Rebbe. So here, Yaakov Avinu, we think it's just a simple parsha. You know, Yaakov Avinu, he tells Esav, I have ox, yesh li shar, vahi li shar, chamar. We just read the parsha, and then we eat the kiddush, and then they're out for the afternoon. All of a sudden, Yaakov Avinu, he's saving Reb Meir, he's saving Rabbi Akiva, he's getting Antoninos involved. It's a busy parsha. Yaakov Avinu, behind the scenes, he's like setting up the whole Mishnayos. So I'm wondering to myself, by the way, you should know, the Arizal writes in his commentary to Ovadia that all of these holy neshamas that Esav had in him, Rav Meir, Rabbi Akiva, Shmai and Avtalyon, they were all hiding out in a specific part of Esav's body. They were in his head. That's the meaning, Kitzayid bepiv. He trapped them in his mouth. Torah Shabal Peh, in his mouth. That's why when Esav was killed, his body was thrown away, but his head was buried in the Ma'aras HaMachpelah. Because in his head, he had all these big souls. But I'm thinking to myself, okay, what in the world is going on in this parasha? Yaakov Avinu is saving Rav Meir, he's saving Rabbi Akiva, he's getting involved with Antoninos. What does Yaakov Avinu have with it? What business does he have with this in Parshas Vayishlach? And then Rebbeinu Shalom gave me a big matana. I think I understand why. You know who Yaakov Avinu is? Who codified the Mishnah? Who put the Mishnah together? Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. Says Megal Mukais. You know what Nasi stands for? Why is he called the Hanasi? Is Rav Shimon Gamliel called Rav Shimon Gamliel Hanasi? Hillel Hanasi is the only person ever called Hanasi. The word Nasi is an acronym. Nitzutz Shel Yaakov Avinu. Rebbe was the Gilgal of Yaakov. He's the spark of Yaakov Avinu. That's why the Medrash says, at the end of Yaakov's life, he lived 17 years of peace in Mitzrayim, like Rebbe lived at the end of his life 17 years in Sipari. That's why the Megal Mukoi says that what's Rebbe called? Rabbeinu HaKadosh. Why is he called Rabbeinu HaKadosh? Not every rabbi is called Rabbi HaKadosh, only Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. Why? Because what bracha was Yaakov Avinu Masakein? Not the first bracha of Avos, not the second bracha. The first bracha is Avraham, Magen Avraham. The second bracha of Mechaye HaMesim is what Yitzchak said after the Akedah. Kadosh is what Yaakov said. Ata Kadosh was made by Yaakov. Yaakov is called Ata Kadosh. That's why Rebbe, the Gilgal of Yaakov, is called Rabbeinu HaKadosh. Who knows? What's the midah of Yaakov Avinu? Well, Avram's midah is Chesed. Yitzchak's midah is Din. Yaakov is Tiferes, the mix of Chesed and Din. That's why in Pirkei Avos, what does Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi say? Rebbe Omer, Ezo hi derech yeshara, kol shehi Tiferes. That's the midah of Yaakov Avinu. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi is Yaakov Avinu. He's Yaakov Avinu. That means Yaakov has in him Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. What is Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi's main contribution to the Jewish people? The Mishna. If you were Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi and you could rescue 3 people, who would you rescue? I'll tell you. The Gemara in Sanhedrin says that if you have a Mishnah that's nameless and doesn't have a name, Stam Mishnah Rameir. Then the Gemara says, a Stam Sifra is Rabbi Yehuda, Stam Tosefta Reb Nechemia, but Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi didn't write the Tosefta and the Sifra, he wrote the Mishnah, and Stam Mishnah is Rameir. Stam Sifri Reb Shimon. But all of the Mishnayos are all just expressing whose opinion? Rabbi Akiva. So if you needed to write a Mishnah, if you were Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, and you could rescue 3 people, you know who I would rescue? I need Reb Meir. I need his shver also, Reb Chananya ben Tradim, and he has to marry Bruria. I need Rabbi Akiva. Every Mishnah goes like Rabbi Akiva. And then I need Antoninos. So without Antoninos, we can't write anything. So Yaakov Avinu, who has in him the neshama of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, whose main contribution to this world is the Mishnayos, he has to secure his future job. Right? In this world, everybody needs a little job security. Right? So what kind of job security? You need Reb Meir, and you need Reb Chananya ben Tradion, and you need Rabbi Akiva, and you need Antoninos. There you have it. Yaakov Avinu is afraid. Shema Yeharag Acherim. Hine Rachav As Yodayim. Rabbi Chanina ben Tradion. Kum Ale Beisel Akiva. Yodoy Echeves Akiva. Vishleps Rabbi Akiva. He has to make sure that his key players, he has to make sure. If you have a company, you got to make sure your CEO, your CFO, your vice president are safe. So Yaakov Avinu is Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. He makes sure he doesn't kill Reb Meir. He makes sure Rabbi Chananya ben Tradion is all right. He makes sure that Rabbi Akiva is okay.
What about Rabbi Akiva Shver?
Akiva Shver? Rabbi Akiva Shver told him, I'm not giving you a penny. But Reb Meir Shver, we don't necessarily find that. So, by the way, also, Rabbi Meir Shver, we could get it, or Rabbi Akiva Shver, because Shechem ben Chamor, Shechem was called Kelev. But we're not going to get into that right now. Okay. So Rabbi says, so far, this is pretty out there. That the mission of Yaakov Avinu has in him the neshama of Rebbe, and Rebbe's job is to codify, redact the Mishnah. So we got to save Reb Meir, Reb Akiva, fine. But there's one more thing we have to add. Fasten your seatbelts, take out your pens, your calculators. Okay? Listen to this. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi has another name. We said Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, Rabbi Yehuda. He has another name. Rabbeinu HaKadosh. It's a 3-letter name. There's only one person in history that's called Rabbi. Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi is called Rabbi. Why is he called Rabbi? In Shas, in many places, for example, Lamed Beis Amid Beis Michdi Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi Hainu Rabbi. He's called Rabbi. I'm going to tell you a frightening story. Gemara in Shabbos on Daf Kuf Mem Zayin says that why the 10 tribes go lost? They overindulged in luxuries. They got a hold of Chamra de Frugaisa, a very luxurious wine, Umaya de Yumsus, and a spa, hot water of the Yumsus. And they got drawn after it, and eventually they left the fold. Says the Gemara, they weren't the only ones. There was a Tana by the name of Rebbe Lezer ben Arach. Rebbe Lezer ben Arach, you should know, was the greatest of all the Tanaim, it says in Pirkei Avos. And yet you could look in the pages of Shas, and his name does not appear. The Mishna says if you put Elazar ben Arach on one side of the scale, he would outweigh all the Tanaim. So you would expect every Mishnah in Shas, Amar Rebbe Elazar ben Arach, Divrei Rebbe Elazar ben Arach, Amar Rebbe Elazar ben Arach. And his name does not appear. You could search in vain for Elazar. What happened to him, says the Gemara. He got caught up in the luxuries of Chamra de Frugaisa Umaya de Yumsus. Probably he was invited to speak somewhere in a hotel, and they were serving luxurious food, and he wasn't going to eat it, and someone brought it out. But that's what happened, to the point where Chazal say he forgot all his learning. All his learning. To the point, look at number 44. He got up to the most well-known pasuk in the Chumash, HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem, and he misread it. Hacharesh Haya Libam. Now let's translate. You got to get this. HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem. This month's for you. You know what he read it? He took the Dalid and he changed it for a Resh. Hacharesh, stuffed up. Haya, was. Libam, their hearts. In other words, this was supernatural. God put in his mouth, their hearts got stuffed up. You know, sometimes you eat a big meal. You come to a shul and you eat a big meal, so you're trying to listen, but it's just not possible to listen. It's like the two things don't always go together. The Mesillas Yesharim writes, when you eat food, the food sends like clouds up to your mind. Clouds. So you think you're thinking clear, but you're in cloud 9. Yeah? So Hacharesh Hayalibam. Their hearts were stuffed up. Their hearts were stuffed up. Very mysterious. The pasuk says HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem, and he read it Hacharesh Haya Liba. Comes Rav Shamshin Me'ashtafo. We know Rav Shamshin Me'ashtafo, one of the all-time greatest Mikubalim. He tells us a secret. You ready for the secret? First he tells a secret. The secret is at first just like a mysterious puzzle, and then we'll explain. He says there's a force of impurity. It's called Reish Yud Beis. What's the numerical value of Reish Yud Beis? 212. The force of 212 makes you forget your learning. I'll tell you a good way to remember it. Rib. When you see the ribeye steak, you should know it will taste good, but rib. You get too involved in it, you're going to forget it. Yeah? Rib. That's all you need to remember. Reish Yud Beis, 212. 212. The force of 212 has 605 soldiers on his side. The gematria of Aderes Seyar, the cloak of hair, I'll have Esav. Aderes is 605. However, on the forehead of Mashiach, it says Chaf Dalet Taf, 424. That's what it says on Mashiach ben David. Huh? What's that supposed to mean? Now the first half of the Shiur, Rabbi, you're out there, but now this is too much. Yeah? 212, the forces of evil that make you forget your learning, and they have 605 soldiers, but on Mashiach's forehead it says 424. Where'd you get this from? Says Reb Shamshin Me'ashtapoli, this is the secret of the mistake of Rebbe Eliezer ben Aruch. Rebbe Eliezer ben Aruch looked at the pasuk HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem. The numerical value of HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem is 424. He took the letters Dalid, Zayin, Chaf, HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem, and he switched the Dalid for a Hacharesh, Resh. Haya, Yud, Libam, Beis. What did he remove from the pasuk? Dalid, Zayin, Chaf. Please look at number 44. You see that? HaChodesh, if you have a pen, you should write it. HaChodesh, the Dalid became a Resh, yeah? The Zayin became a Yud. The Chaf became a Beis. Resh, Yud, Beis. That's the force that makes you forget your learning. You got it? HaChodesh, the Dalid became a Resh. The Zayin became a Yud. The Chaf became a Beis. Liba. It transferred from Rib. What Dazach, Dalet, Zayin, Chaf became Resh Yud Beis. Resh Yud Beis makes you forget your learning. Resh Yud Beis makes you forget your learning. By the way, the gematria of Hacharesh Haya Libam is 605. Those are the 605 soldiers of the Resh Yud Beis. So what it says is HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem. That's 424. That's how you remember. But when you take the Dalid, the Zayin, and the Chaf, and you replace it with Resh Yud Beis, you forget everything. The force of forgetfulness is 212. Okay, you got that? All you remember is rib. You remember the ribeye steak, right? Rib. Rib makes you forget. Resh Yud Beis, 212. Says the Chassam Sofer in his Chidushim HaMasechta Shabbos. He quotes Rav Shamshin Me'ashtapoli. Does anybody know how many years the Jewish people were in Egypt? 210. Does anybody know how many years we would have been there had the butler remembered Yosef at the right time? Remember, the butler forgot about Yosef for 2 years. But if he would have remembered Yosef 2 years earlier, then the Jewish people would have gone down to Mitzrayim 2 years earlier, and we would have been there 212 years. No, if you go down 2 years earlier, then you'll be there 212. If we would have been in Mitzrayim for 212, we would have been forgotten forever. 212 Resh Yud Beis is the power of forgetting. That's the force that makes you forget. It says Chassam Sofer, that's what the pasuk says. The Sar HaMashkim did not remember Yosef, and he forgot him. Ask the Chassam Sofer. Good morning, America. If he didn't remember Yosef, then obviously he forgot him. Why does it have to say he forgot him? If he didn't remember, he obviously forgot. You know what the answer is? The emphasis is he didn't remember Yosef, he forgot him. But because he forgot him, the rest of the Jewish people were remembered. Because now we won't be in Mitzrayim 212 years. The fact that he delayed bringing us down 2 years because he forgot about Yosef. He forgot Yosef, but that brought Zikara into the rest of the Jewish people. Says the Chassam Sofer, HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem. What are the middle letters? Dalid, Zayin, Chaf. Dalid is 4. Zayin is 7. Chaf is 20. Add it up. Kale, Aleph Lamed. Kale helps you remember. HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem. Kale helps you remember. But if you replace Dalid, Zayin, Chaf with Resh, Yud, Beis, you forget. So the battle 12 with its Aderes, its 605 soldiers, then you forget everything. And that's the power of Esav. Esav is the Kayach of Aderes, 605, you forget everything. Or are you going to have Kale? Kale is HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem Daled Zayin Chaf. Yaakov Avinu has in him the neshama of Rabbi. What is Rebbe's main contribution to the Jewish people. What did he do? He codified the Mishnayos. Why did he codify the Mishnayos? The Rambam tells us. He was afraid the Torah would be forgotten. What's Rabbi Yehuda Anasi fighting? Which power? Ribeye steak. Rib. Reish Yud Beis. He's fighting 212. That's why he's given the name Rebbe. Reish Beis Yud. Says the Chidah, he's called Rebbe because he has to combat the 212 forces that help you forget. He has to combat the Adara Seyar. 212. What are the three letters that help you remember? HaChodesh HaZelachem Daled Zayin Chaf. They equal 31. Kale. Yaakov Avinu in this week's Parsha. He knows he has in him the neshama of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi's contribution to the world is he has to fight the 212, and he has to remind the Jewish people of the Torah. How's he going to do that? He's going to chap Rabbi Meir. He's going to rescue Rabbi Akiva. He's going to rescue Rabbi Chananya ben Tradion. He's even going to help bring in Antoninos. Says Rebbeinu Shalom, let me give you a little boost. Vayikra loy Kale. He called him Kale. That's the secret of Kale. Kale is, Yaakov Avinu has in him the neshama of Yehuda Anasi. He has to remind the Jewish people of the Torah. The way you forget Torah is Reish Yud Beis. The way you remember Torah, Daled Zayin Chaf, Kale 31. That's the secret of why Hashem gives Yaakov Avinu this boost. Vayikra loi Kale. The secret of Kale, this part is suggested in the Sefer Shvilei Pinchas. The secret of Kale is Rebbeinu Shalom is empowering Yaakov with the ability to combat Reish Yud Beis. Who controls Reish Yud Beis? Esav. Esav is Aderes, the 605 soldiers. The main combat here between Yaakov and Esav is Esav wants to make us forget the Torah because he knows that so long as the voice of Torah is heard, Ein Yadayim Midei Esav Sholtais, and Yaakov Avinu, who has in him the neshama of Rabbi Yehuda Anasi, he's securing the fact that the Torah will never be forgotten. He ensures, he saves Rabbi Meir, he saves Rabbi Akiva, he saves Rabbi Chananya ben Tradion, he ensures Antoninos has a relationship, and this is all Rebbe. Rebbe is Hanasi, the nitzitz of Yaakov Avinu. So to take away, you read the Parsha, it seems like a simple storyline, but behind the scenes we have earth-shattering events, major events, world historic events are taking place right behind the scenes. Every word of Torah is Amoik Miyim Se'enu, is a bottomless depth of tremendous Chachma Yoina. Thank you everyone for coming. Shkayach.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.